Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the 2022 CAMP IPPS tips and tricks for procurement card holders and delegates course. I am Patrick, the procurement card manager and your host for today's CAMP IPPS course. Today, we will be reviewing tips and tricks for procurement card holders and delegates. A few things before we get started. This course is slated for 30 minutes. This course is best suited for those who regularly create and submit expense reports and have the role of a card holder or delegate. Since we have a large audience for today, we kindly ask that you please turn off your cameras to reduce bandwidth and internet issues. I will do the same once I begin the presentation. Everyone is on mute. Please only unmute if prompted to do so by myself or one of the moderators. Our moderators for today are Emily Wong and Vanessa Torres. We ask that you submit any questions that you have in the last 10 minutes of today's course. We ask that you wait to submit your questions until we're almost done, as we may cover your questions in today's presentation. We'll have about 10 minutes to answer any questions that come in via the chat. The moderators will let you know when to submit your questions in the chat. We want to ensure we don't distract attendees during the course. Any questions that we're actually not able to answer, our moderators will take down your name and question, and we will send out a follow-up email. I must also say, please do not direct message myself, as I will not be checking the chat as we progress through this presentation. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. There are two types of delegates in Concur: request delegates and expense delegates. The request and expense modules share delegates. By assigning permissions to a delegate in one area, you're also assigning permission for both request and expense. Once added, a delegate can perform all of the same actions as a normal user, except for submitting a new procurement card request or a procurement card expense report. A delegate can also submit expense reports on behalf of a cardholder when a delegation of authority request has been submitted in Concur and approved by the procurement card team. We will get into the details of the delegation of authority a little bit later in this presentation. Some of you might be familiar with how to add a delegate, but we're going back to basics in case some of you have not had a chance to add a delegate yet. Log into Concur using your single sign-on. Select the profile icon on the top right of the screen, and then select Profile Settings. You'll select Request or Expense Delegate from the sidebar on the left. Select Add. Start by typing in the name of the person you want to become your delegate. Type in their last name. Once you locate them, select the Add button to the right. Your selected user will be added to the list of delegates. To manage their permissions, check the boxes of your preferred preferences and then select Save. The user will now be able to act on your behalf within the request and expense module. So you've been added as a delegate. Now what? Once a cardholder has added you as their delegate, you can now go ahead and act on their behalf. From anywhere in Concur, in the upper right, select the profile icon. If you are a delegate for another user, you will see a box stating acting as other user. Click on the box and select the user you will be acting on behalf of. Once you have chosen the desired user, then you can select Start Session. When acting as another user, a green box will display under Profile, indicating that you're acting as a delegate for another user. To stop acting as another user, select the green box and then select Done as acting for others. Now that we've gone over a few of the basics, we're going to get into the specifics of things and a delegate can and cannot do. So a delegate is there as a support to a cardholder in making requests or expensing transactions. Only the cardholder can assign someone as their delegate. You can be a delegate for multiple cardholders and also be their department administrator. We highly recommend that if you're the DA, that you're added as a delegate to all of your cardholders. So as a delegate, you can submit requests in Concur to cancel a card, increase or decrease limits, lift an MCC, which is a merchant category code, and update a cardholder's name or mail code. Delegates may also create expense report, but will not have the authority to submit or approve them on behalf of the cardholder, unless a delegation of authority is in place. As a delegate, you do not necessarily have assigned tasks or duties. You're kind of just overseeing or assisting a cardholder that may need help with reconciling or uploading their receipts. As a delegate, you cannot have the procurement card team assign you to a cardholder. Edit the notification emails that you receive. Use the missing receipt icon feature if you're creating an expense report on a cardholder's behalf. Submit a delegation of authority request. Use the cardholder's procurement card to make purchases. Store the card for the cardholder if they go on leave. We understand that some delegates may have over 20 cardholders, and receiving cardholder email notifications in Concur can really become overwhelming for a delegate. There is an option for a cardholder to change their settings so that it will stop all Concur notification emails that their delegates would receive. Select the profile icon from the top right of your screen and then Profile Settings. Select Expense Delegates. Find a user that should no longer receive email notifications and uncheck the Receives Email box. And then select save. If you wish to reverse this change in the future, you will follow the same process and check the receives email box. Unfortunately, Concur capabilities do not allow for delegates to edit the notification email settings. Only the cardholder can do it for their own delegates. However, you can remove yourself as a delegate if you no longer wish to be that cardholder's delegate. If you're transferring departments, you will need to remove yourself manually as a delegate. Concur will not automatically remove you as a delegate from your old department. So follow these steps to delete yourself as a delegate. Log into Concur, click Profile, and click Profile Settings. Select Expense or Request Delegates on the left-hand side. Click on Delegates for, then select the person you would like to delete by checking the box on the top left of their name. Once you select your name, click Delete. You have now removed yourself as a delegate. If you want to be able to do more as a delegate, we definitely have a solution for that. Delegation of authority. So what is a delegation of authority, you may ask? It is when a cardholder formally requests to delegate the ability to submit procurement card reports and Concur to their own delegates. The cardholder is still responsible for all charges on their procurement card and required to provide all supporting documentation. A cardholder cannot delegate the delegation of authority requests in Concur, meaning the cardholder must be the one to submit it. Once the cardholder submits one delegation of authority request, it automatically applies to all their delegates. The procurement card team does not individually grant each delegate this access. Once the cardholder has this authority on their profile, anyone who is their delegate can submit expense reports on their behalf. In a nutshell, it means that me as a cardholder can submit a delegation of authority request in Concur to have my delegates be able to not only create my expense reports, but click submit on my behalf. The final tip for today's course is for anyone who prepares expense reports. Let's go ahead and take a look at the COA fields within the report header of an expense report. In each field on the report header, you will see what looks like an hourglass on the left of each field. Next to that hourglass is a drop-down arrow. Before you begin to search or type anything in, best practice is to always select either. Selecting either will allow you to search for either text or code. However, if you have it set to text and you type in a code, it will tell you no results have been found. In addition to that, when searching fields in the report header, you cannot manually type or copy paste a fund, venue, function, program, location, project, task, or funding source. You can begin to type the first part you're looking for, and if you look below the gray line, you will see results narrowing down towards your search. Once you see your selection, you will want to click on it. If you're looking, if what you're looking for does not pre-populate, do not force enter it. If you do, once you click save and then go back in, the field will be blank. Concur will only save the things in the report header or allocations that are valid. In this final example, you can see that the financial unit is starting to be typed in. And as more of the number is inputted, it will locate the FINU and list it under the gray line. You will always want to select what comes up under the gray line when searching. Again, if it says no results found, this means there is an error in your search, or the financial unit you are trying to locate may not be valid. As promised, here are some of the links and knowledge-based articles that we covered in today's course. These links are also being provided to you in the chat. This presentation will be posted onto our Procurement Card blank pages within the next few weeks. And a copy of the slides will be shared with registered attendees after camp. That concludes our review portion for camp today. We're going to go ahead and spend the next few minutes answering questions that came in from the chat.
Thank you, Patrick. Alrighty, so it looks like we got about 3 questions in. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the first one. It says, we've seen instances where an expense report is routed to a supervisor approver rather than the financial unit approver. What are the scenarios in which this would occur? So this happens when a cardholder's profile has a supervisor listed as a default approver and expense. So this is a request that was submitted by a cardholder, a delegate, somebody in the department that said, hey, we want this cardholder's expense reports to route to supervisor. That is a field that used to be controlled by the department about 3 months ago, but we changed it because we needed to take back control of where we put the department administrator name. And it locked all the fields for expense and request for routing purposes for approvals. So if expense reports are routing to a supervisor, it A means that that cardholder has a supervisor listed, or B, P, if you can chime in on this one, I'm drawing a blank. When an expense report is created and they're going to submit it, can't they manually add a supervisor to route to as well, like somebody within the approval flow?
Yes, that is correct, Vanessa. It's either that it is automatically added in the profile, which means that any expense report that is in the cardholder's profile, which means any expense report that is submitted, it will be routed to that supervisor or whomever that person that's been added within that default approver 1 role, I believe. But also manually, the cardholder can do so as well. Before they submit the expense report, they can select that it routes to their supervisor as well. So you are correct.
Okay, thank you. So we just had a few more questions come in, and for time purposes, I'm just going to bounce around and answer like the quick ones. And then Patrick, there's one at the end. It's a little bit longer, so I'm going to add it. Okay, so if we have unique issues, should we submit a ticket, services and support, or is there another place to ask for guidance? Yes, submit services and support. We do have somebody that's going in there every single day. Our turnaround time for the initial request is a little over 24 hours. We also have office hours every single Wednesday from 9 to 10, except for today. Oh wait, no, today's Thursday. And we don't get a lot of people in there. Some weeks we just sit there and talk to each other. So come in, let me, let us get to know you. But other than that, service and support. Next question. If a charge is refunded, does it have to be reconciled the same way as any other charge? Yes. So charges cannot be removed. So you'll see a refund come in. We do have on our link page under FAQ how to reconcile a credit. You use the same COA that you did for the original. You use the same receipt that you used for the original, and it would be processed the same as any other P card charge. Next question is, how can a supervisor approver be removed? So that is a process that has to be done by us. So you would just submit a services and support ticket and say, for this card holder, please remove default approver for request or expense. We need you to specify which one, because each field is different, and how you can see that is the cardholder can go into their profile settings and look at their expense and request preferences, and they can see where that supervisor's name is. Whatever field that name is in that you want us to remove, just state that in the case. You can even provide a screenshot and say, hey, where this person's name is, please remove it. The next question is, I noticed that delegation of authority only allows me to submit P card reports, but not T&E card reports. What would happen if a UCSD employee quits, but they still have a travel report to submit on their account? How could I submit that report? Unfortunately, I can't speak to that because we don't manage the travel and expense card reports. Patrick, they don't have delegation of authority for that, correct? So they would just have to reach out to Matt to find out what happens, because I don't know if they have that.
Yeah, that is correct, Vanessa. So as far as for the travel and entertainment card, there is no delegation of authority function. So you would reach out, just submit a service and support ticket, and Matt Oborn, who is the travel card program administrator, would be the one to respond to that case. And then I believe what they would do is actually transfer that cardholder's profile to someone that's going to be responsible for submitting that expense report on their behalf.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. And then last question that we will be able to get to is, can we talk expense, expender types, and tax info fields? These are where most of us get stuck, have to resubmit. How do we know the best category for type and what type of tax is added? Or if tax is not added, what is the reason?
Yeah, I can definitely, as far as speak to that, just really quickly, because we really don't have time, and we want to be ensure that we know people got other courses to take here. But just quickly, the expense type decides whether the expense is taxable or not. On our blank page, you can go there and you can find a list of all expense types, and it will indicate whether they are taxable or tax exempt. So the expense types decide whether the purchase is taxable or not. The ship to zip code decides whether what tax rate should be applied to that purchase. So for La Jolla, it would be 7.75, right? And then the sales tax on the receipt indicates whether sales tax was paid for that transaction or not. If you leave that sales tax on receipt field at 0, what will happen is that if you select a taxable expense type, Oracle will apply use tax to that purchase. If you enter the tax paid on that receipt in that tax paid field, then Oracle will not apply use tax to that purchase. That is kind of a quick run through as far as how tax is applied. If you would like to discuss as far as how tax is applied in more details, as always, you can submit a service and support ticket. I know we're at time, but also please feel free to join us during office hours on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. as Vanessa mentioned, where we can answer your questions live on a Zoom session and talk a little bit more in detail. Since we're at time, please don't forget to attend the Camp IPPS wrap up on Friday for a thank you and giveaways. Unfortunately, just have to complete our training for camp today. So from myself and the rest of the procurement card team, we thank you for your time and questions. Enjoy the remainder of your day.